Hey, what's up? How are you? Hey, first of all, let me say something. I want to apologize. If you're somebody that's in the United States from another country and you had a legal background, maybe you were a lawyer, maybe you were a judge, maybe you were just somebody that was very competent and did some personal study, including connected to your culture, your history. Maybe you took that seriously, and even if you had to come to the United States, understood that was a part of who you were. I want to apologize. I want to apologize because I started doing what I needed to do in order to represent myself pro se. And let me just say, I tried to get a lawyer. And you want to know something? I'm going to tell you something right now. I have this dictionary here, and it's for another language. And I contend that I'd actually been spied on. And when I'd been spied on, they knew that I had a lover who spoke another language. And so when I went to the hospital and they kidnapped me and they refused to assist me in reporting fraud and child abuse, they gave me a lawyer who had a name that in English means one thing. But when you translate the person they said was going to be my attorney's name into another language, it means something else. Not only does it mean something else, but it means something that has very specific implication when it comes to the crypto economy and when it comes to cyber attacks. I did not know this. I did not know that they had set it up to give me somebody who was just going to fake that they were going to be my lawyer. And who, by the way, I've been told and understand was actually implicated in massive accusations of wrongdoing before showing up on site at the place where I'd been kidnapped and taking my information and taking a written documentation that I intended to go to court and then just refusing to get back to me. I didn't know that her name, when it translated into the language of a former lover of mine, had this implication. I didn't even know that until recently. And I have no doubt that similar things have happened to other people, including people whose first language is not English and who, at very high level skills in their country of origin, that not only were they personally set up, including potentially being set up with people that were literally sent to scam them because they were not born in the United States, but also people who had completely legitimate, genuine intentions in getting to know them and enjoyed getting to know them, and then for whatever reason were used as part of somebody else's completely sadistic scheme, including being used as part of somebody else's completely sadistic scheme involving people who believed that they had the cover of a government agency or somebody in government that was going to cover up for them, setting those people up, including in manners that implicated them or people in the countries from whence they came in acts of terrorism. Now, I didn't get to actually get to know that much about the political context of the country from whence this person came to know if what's going on now, right, more than 5 years later, is actually directly connected to political reprisal against him and his colleagues that I met, or if it's something specific and unique concerning the way that they wanted to visit reprisal on me based upon my personal history and the fact that a lot of what's going on in his country of origin is connected to an intentional effort to cover up for crimes that were committed in slandering me and other people I knew before, including people who came from other countries, including people whose first language was not English. So I just want to apologize because I did attempt to represent myself pro se after I had been offered a lawyer that just refused to get back to me without knowing the implications that I just discussed. But at some point in time later, including during the build up to COVID 19, I understood somebody had a strategy where they were going to abuse this whole accusation of Russian hacking of the election and all of the people that were being designated as spies that needed to be sanctioned or that needed to be called out, including through secret congressional processes. And that on some level, we're supposed to believe, if you're conscious of that and not totally out of it, that those people agreed. They're actually agreed to be spies. And not only did they actually agree to be spies, but they actually agreed to be spies that were going to participate in a long-term economy wherein they were designated as only being eligible for non-legal tender currency. And that meant everything they did was going to be on the black market. and was going to be on the underground, and that they'd agreed that that's the way they were going to live, and that when they made some sort of arrangement with whoever it was they intersected with and agreed to allow their lives to be harvested so somebody else could use it, or they agreed to take on somebody else's identity, maybe with the understanding that at some point there might be some sort of subversive regime change, and then if they pretended to either have less skills than they actually do, or if they agreed to have a countervailing political perspective, then they might be able to normalize and acclimate into society after that had occurred, right? We're all supposed to believe this without any confirmation and without those people actually getting the capacity to represent themselves or to have representation in an official legal process. Now, I can't believe that, honestly. I can't believe that any more than I can believe that the people I used to know 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, or 20 years ago all agreed to conspire with some of the most heinous securities fraud in history that also involved bonding people as the actual literal human assets of people who had previously been their political opposition. And that when they got bonded, that meant their entire lives were then allowed to be put into some sort of proving ritual where they had to demonstrate that they were loyal to the political ambitions of other people, including political ambitions that had every intention of exploiting the fact that they had been able to get away with ever increasing levels of crime up until the point where there was that crisis moment that person was presented with where they had to demonstrate their loyalty. See, when you accuse someone of being a spy, what you're actually accusing them of is disloyalty. It's a very serious charge, especially if somebody intimates that they personally are qualified to be the representative of the nation and uphold the Constitution. And so being disloyal to the nation has implications. Are we talking about being disloyal to the nation? Or are we talking about being disloyal to an individual with a specific political ideation that needs for you to demonstrate your subordination to their domination at all costs? It's different. Not only from a legal standpoint, but also from a practical standpoint. And if you agree to go along with it, maybe at some point you get your own, incentive. And one of the incentives I understand a number of people got, including people in Congress that are members of bar associations, but also people in Congress that are not. We're going to engage in some sort of simulation of legal process. And they were going to take people that had been blacklisted, and they were going to take people that had been censored, and they were going to take people that had been sanctioned, and we're going to put them through frivolous legal processes. Now, here's the thing. If you're a lawyer and you do casework and you do investigation for that case and you make motions and you file them, you bill. And regardless of whether you win or lose the case, regardless of whether the case goes to court or what district of the court it goes to, or how many appeals you win or lose, you still expect to get paid. And if your client doesn't pay the bills, that was a debt the client accrued that they owe to you. But if you're in a situation where you're denied legal representation, but you're supposed to use your own labor and your own effort to defend yourself against completely false charges, including charges that may well have been charges that rightfully and legitimately were levied against somebody else, but they decide to engage illegal swapping and put you in the position of either having to defend yourself against those charges that they themselves should be defending themselves against, or one of their friends or associates or affiliates. Well, you're smart enough to come up with something we can use. It doesn't really matter whether you win or lose because it's not even about you. It's never going to be about you. By the way, we bill by the hour. We're expecting to get paid. We never gave you a lawyer for a reason. See, when you're in one of these secret proceedings, nobody pays your legal bills. Don't make some excuse up. They'll work you the whole time. And that's what's been happening to me for 4 years and a month. For 49 months, I have been working for hours a day on these cases. Nobody had any intention of paying my legal bills, but they had every intention of using everything they could get out of having me kidnapped, kept off the grid, caught up in a secret illegal proceeding, throwing false charges at me, binding all the stuff that they may or may not want to deal with themselves onto it, taking advantage of whatever they did get. And at the end of the day, trying to put me through some sort of psychological morass so that somebody else can analyze my behavior and determine it doesn't meet some specification in order to allow for me to have a reintegration into society on some sort of terms that somebody else has arbitrarily speculated on. And yet they can get whatever they need for their professional development and for consideration of their credentials. And maybe their case gets a day in court. Even if it doesn't, then they get to use what I've done as underwriting for insurance that they themselves expect to be availed of in one manner or another, in case they lose, or in case their client loses, or in case they do that thing that Justice Scalia talks about, where you get involved with a case, right? Why? Because the law, you know the law, but there's something about the law that has not been tried through the court yet. So you break the law. You break the law with the anticipation that your lawyer is going to make a case and go to court and have a precedent put on the record that makes that law you knowingly and willingly broke profitable. And meanwhile, how many people are being completely raked over the coals? See, if you're in the market and you're allowed to post on the market, or you're allowed to be involved in a recording of commercial activity based on moving money from one account to another account, you don't need the actual cold, hard cash at the time. But while you're moving numbers back and forth, you're accruing credit. You're accruing a profit or a gain, maybe a loss. You get to offset that against the other, because you're allowed to have an account in your name or the name of your company, while all of these other people had their accounts stolen and are actually doing the fucking work. And so you spend years with people trying to extort and manipulate you into being grateful that you're not on the streets. I'm not the only one that's going through this. This isn't about a transfer of wealth. It was, and it still is, a violation of constitutional preclusions on slavery. This isn't even just about illegally incurred debt. This is about people that had every single fucking intention of robbing other people's lives and claiming it was theirs because those people who did the work were their property. And if you don't want to show them how grateful you are that they let you be a piece of their property, well, then they're just not going to let anybody see you at all. That's my concern. Now, this is what happened. And it didn't just happen to people that were born in the United States. I think that they had a specific valuation for people that were born in other countries and really, really wanted to have that kind of asset base, but they didn't want to have to pay the taxes or the tariffs themselves, which is what they would have to do if they actually acknowledge what you're worth. Just so you know, I've already put on the record, and I'm stating again, every quarter hour of work I do in legal work is $4,500. It's $4,500 every 15 minutes. I would compensate somebody else that was capable of this quality at that rate willingly. And see, from there, we could actually happen to have a conversation where we start to actually value each other at what we're at. But every day, these processes that are harvesting me and manipulating what I did in good faith for the people, for hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars worth of money, they want to be acknowledged as having had association with, and not a goddamn fucking callback has come. I haven't gotten a call, I haven't gotten a letter in years. And the letters I did get,